Hello viewers and welcome to my blog for the Canadian Grand Prix 2013. A couple of days later than I would like. It's been quite busy with E3 and all that stuff, getting it all out of the way. This year then obviously the cloud has been cast over Formula One in terms of the test gate, as they're calling it, the Mercedes testing the new Pirelli tyres. I think the first part of the weekend really was learning about the complexities of this. It wasn't a secret test, it was a private test. The other teams didn't know about it, and it was revealed that the drivers were out there in plain helmets, and there were apparently other parts on the car as well, other testing parts, which shouldn't really have been done if they were testing the tyres. It wasn't a test session for the team, it was a test session for Pirelli. Very interesting. Testing is banned, quite transparent. Why you would want privacy at a public test seems quite strange. Why they were using a 2013 car and plain helmets, that's something for the tribunal to decide. But for those of you that watch the drivers' press conference and the team bosses' conference as well, certainly the atmosphere is as bad as I've ever seen in Formula One. It's not a happy place at the moment for all those guys, and clearly there's something big coming. Ross Brawn has kind of put his head on the chopping block, if you like, and said, it was me, you know, I made the decision all on my own and I will accept the blame. People believe he's leaving anyway at the end of the year. It's been talked about for some time. Wouldn't really be, okay, Ross is out, loses his job. No, there'll be more to this than meets the eye at the moment, and I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it, because it needs to be cast iron in terms of a judgment. And so that was kind of the cloud, if you like, that, you know, covered the whole weekend. And, you know, then we had the racing, obviously the tricky weather conditions on the Saturday. It messed everybody about. Some drivers didn't quite get in the position that they were expecting, but at the same time, Sebastian Vettel, great lap from him, pole position, and he lines himself up perfectly in the race. You know, we knew Mercedes were good over one lap. We knew Sebastian would be up there. I think Fernando was a little bit lower than he was expecting to be. But quickly onto the race then. And the race itself, I didn't think it was necessarily a classic. The field spread was quite high. Sebastian Vettel got away after, you know, first couple of corners. He's gone 3 seconds down the road. And it's kind of one of those races where you think Sebastian Vettel didn't race today. He didn't race anyone. He went round turn 2 and he did a time trial session that involved an overtake challenge as far as back runners were concerned. But in terms of actually racing, it was just all too easy for him. And of course then you had Nico Rosberg holding back Mark Webber, and that produced a big gap with Lewis in second place. The race sort of came together more as the day went on, really, and obviously Fernando Alonso closing up, passing Mark Webber and Nico, and eventually Lewis, and working his way up into second place. The Mercedes does seem to have radically improved tyre performance from where we were just 3 races ago, when they were falling back from the front all the way to the back. So, I mean, we talk about this test being of 2014 tyres, but it does seem like the drivers are improving. It does seem like they understand their car better. So certainly they've got some data from it. But again, that all depends on the eye of the beholder. I'm sure Mercedes would say something entirely different. As far as the rest of the pack was concerned, we saw the comings together with Guido van der Garde and Mark Webber, losing half of his front wing. That was a strange one. A terrible day for McLaren. McLaren, what's going on there? Massive team, hundreds of people working there. Brains of Britain, quite frankly, some of the people they have there, mathematicians, and they say too many cooks stirring the broth. Sometimes you have people who say, we're looking at the data, and the data says we do this. And sometimes you have people who have been in racing a long time and say, look with your own eyes, ask the driver, look at how it's working. And at the moment, they're trying to work everything out in data rather than actually working with what they've got. And it certainly seems like it's not working for them. The data that they're getting back isn't right. There's something wrong. And until they find that thing wrong, none of their sums are going to matter. But they're still working with that classic data at the moment. So McLaren, certainly a struggle for them throughout the day. Lotus, ups and downs for them this weekend as well. Not a great weekend for them. Pastor Maldonado having his comings together with Adrian Sutil. But certainly one of the highlights of the day has to be Paul di Resta. Stayed on those tyres till I think it was lap 56, 57, somewhere around there. And, he worked with what he had. He worked with the tyres he had, and he did a cracking job. And it shows that Force India does have some real speed. If it could qualify better, if the cars could qualify as well as they could race, I think it would be a very different story for a lot of the cars out there. But overall, the field spread was very high. There were very few incidents, and it wasn't necessarily a classic Grand Prix. It's one that sort of came and went, and the championship, as ever, it builds an even bigger lead for Sebastian Vettel. I think you'd be fair to say now that he's very much in control of this championship, and it would take a lot to change that now. But the one last thing I wanted to mention is our thoughts are with the family of the marshal who lost his life sadly after the Grand Prix. There was an incident in removing Esteban Gutierrez's car from, I think it was turn 2, and we'd just like to pay our respects to them. But that's Formula 1. That's another race done, and we look forward now to the British Grand Prix, which takes place in 2 weeks' time. I might be there. I don't know if I'll be there, but We'll wait and see on that one. But as ever, there'll be a little blog from me and a report. I'd love to hear your feedback as well, what you'd like to hear in some of these blogs, or something you'd like me to discuss as well. And maybe I can even interview someone and get a few answers for you guys on something at some point as well. But that's it from me for now. As ever, more soon.